Good morning, students. Hope everyone is fine. So, students, as you know that in our previous session, we have started chapter 2, that is matter around us pure? And we have discussed about the classification of matter. Now we know that matter is divided into pure substances and mixture. Then pure substance is further classified into element and compound. Then mixture is classified into homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures, and we have discussed about the pure substances and mixture in detail also, and we have discussed about the types of mixture also. Homogeneous mixture we have taken the example of solution, that is true solution. So students, today we are discuss about the solution in detail. So what is solution? We know that a solution has a solvent and solute as its component, and the component in the larger amount is the solvent and the component in the lesser amount is the solute. So the solution is having a two main component, that is solute and solvent. And as you know that we have discussed the properties of true solution, and we have discussed the heterogeneous mixture. In heterogeneous mixture we have discussed about the colloidal solution and suspension. Then we have discussed about the Tyndall effect. So students, now we'll discuss about the solution, or we can say true solution, in detail. So we'll start with the saturated solution. So we can classify a true solution, or we can say solution, into saturated or unsaturated solution. So what is saturated solution? Saturated solution is a solution which cannot dissolve any more of a solute at a given temperature. We can say that a solution which has maximum amount of dissolved solute that the solution can hold at given temperature is called saturated solution. For example, suppose 40 gram of sodium chloride dissolve in 100 gram of water at 25 degrees Celsius. This is saturated solution of sodium chloride at 25 degrees Celsius. That means we cannot dissolve now more amount of sodium chloride into the water. So we can say that the solution which cannot dissolve any more of a solute at a given temperature. Now what is solubility? Solubility is a substance of a substance is the amount of solute present in a saturated solution of the substance. Solubility is the substance, that is amount of a solute present in saturated solution of a substance. That means the amount of solute that is present in the saturated solution of the substance is known as the solubility of that particular solution. So what is saturated solution? Saturated solution is a solution which cannot dissolve any more of a solute at a given temperature. An unsaturated solution is a solution which can dissolve some more of the solute at a given temperature. Suppose the solution that we can say contain less than maximum amount of dissolved solid, so we can add more amount. So this is it can hold more amount of solute is called unsaturated solution. For example, a 32 gram of salt dissolved in 100 gram of water at 25 degrees Celsius is an unsaturated solution of salt solution, because now 32 gram salt is dissolved in 100 gram of 25 degrees Celsius. That means we can add more amount of solute at this temperature that can be dissolved. So it is the unsaturated solution, because we know that 40 gram of sodium chloride dissolved at 100 gram of water at 25 degrees. So this is a saturated solution of sodium chloride. But now we are talking that 32 gram of salt dissolved in 100 gram of water at 25 degrees Celsius is in the we can say unsaturated solution. So we can say that it is a less than maximum amount of dissolved solute, so that can solution hold. So it is a unsaturated solution. So we can say that unsaturated solution is a solution which can dissolve some more of the solute at a given temperature. Now how can we prepare saturated solution? We can prepare saturated solution by this activity. We can understand. Take 50 ml of water in 2 beaker. Add salt in 1 beaker with continuous stirring till no more salt dissolve in it. Similarly, add sugar in the other beaker with continuous stirring till no more sugar dissolve in it. Now we get saturated solution of salt and sugar, because now more amount of sugar or salt cannot be dissolved in this solution. So if the mixture are heated, it dissolves some more of the solute. So the solubility of different substances are different, and the solubility of substance varies with the temperature. When we will increase the temperature, then it can dissolve more amount of the solute. So this is the way we can prepare the saturated solution. Suppose we can take another example. Suppose we can take 100 ml beaker and pour 50 ml water in each beaker. Suppose we will take 4 beaker, and we will pour 50 ml of water in each beaker. Then we will label these beaker A, B, C, D. Now we will add 2 spatula of calcium chloride in beaker A, then mercury chloride in beaker B, then lead chloride in beaker C, and silver chloride in beaker D. Now what we will observe? We will observe that calcium chloride is highly soluble, mercury chloride is moderately soluble, lead chloride is slightly soluble, and silver chloride is relatively insoluble. So we can say that this indicate that different substances have different solubilities in the same volume of water at same temperature. So we can say that the solubility of the substance varies with the temperature also, and the solubilities of different substances are different. And we can add some more amount of salt to the corresponding beaker and heat it to boiling. Then we can add more amount of, then we will observe that solubility of salt increases if we heat the solution. It means at higher temperature more amount of solid can be dissolved. So now we will allow each of beaker to cool at a room temperature. Then we will see that some salt starts settling down. So we can say that when decrease the temperature, the solubility of each salt decreases. So it means that extra amount of salt that dissolve at higher temperature settle down at the bottom at lower temperature. So what is the result? We can say that solubility increases at high temperature and it decreases at low temperature. So the solubility of the different substance in water is different. So the solubility depends on temperature. So we must specify the temperature while expressing the solubility. Clear? So now we have understood the solubility and saturated solution and unsaturated solution. Now we'll discuss about the concentration of a solution. What is the meaning of concentration of the solution? The concentration of a solution is the amount of solute present in a given amount of the solvent or solution. We can say that concentration of a solution is defined as the amount of solute present in a given quantity of solution. When coffee or tea you drink is strong, then it is concentrated, and when it is mild, then it is dilute solution. For example, we'll take a glass of water and add 2 spoonful of sugar. Now take another glass of water and add 4 spoonful of sugar. So the solution having a small amount of sugar is said to be low concentration or dilute solution, and the solution having large amount of sugar is said to be the high concentration or concentrated solution. And concentration of solution is expressed in the term of mass and volume, that means mass percentage and volume percentage. So how can we calculate the concentration of a solution? We can calculate the concentration solution by the apply the formulas. We can say that amount of solute divided by amount of solvent, or amount of solute divided by amount of solution. And how can we find out the amount of solution? We have to add the amount of solute plus amount of solvent. So the concentration of a solution can be expressed as a mass by mass percentage or as mass by volume percentage. So for mass by mass percentage of the solution, we want mass of solute, then we will divide it mass of by mass of solution and multiply it by 100. And mass of solution, how can we find out the mass of solution? We have to add mass of solute plus mass of solvent, then we will get mass of solution. And if you want to calculate the concentration of solution by mass by volume percentage of a solution, then we have to divide it by mass of a solute divided by volume of a solution, then multiply by 100. So in the both way we can find out the concentration of a solution, or we can write down volume of solute divided by volume of solution multiply by 100. So this is the way how can we calculate the concentration of solution. For example, I want to give you a simple example here. Suppose a solution is made by dissolving 50 gram of glucose in 250 gram of water. Now calculate the concentration of this solution in mass percentage. So students, first we have to write down the given quantities. What is given? 50 gram of glucose, that means it is present in a lesser amount. So glucose is a solute. So mass of solute is given, that is 50 gram, and it is dissolving in a 250 gram of water. That means water is a solvent, so the mass of solvent is 250 gram. So we have to calculate the concentration by applying the formula, that is mass of solute divided by mass of solution. So mass of solute is 50 gram, and mass of solution, for finding the mass of solution we have to add mass of solute plus mass of solvent, that is 50 gram plus 250 gram, then it will be 300 gram. So we have to now apply the formula, and we have to write down mass of solute, that is 50 gram, then divided by mass of solution, that is 300 gram, then multiply by 100, then it will, then we can calculate the concentration of a concentration, we can say percentage of a solution. So this is the way how can we calculate the concentration of a solution in percentage. Now next topic is that we will discuss in this chapter is separating the components of a mixture. Mixture that we have discussed, mixture can be homogeneous and heterogeneous. So how can we separate the component, or we can say how can we separate the components of a mixture. So now we will discuss the next topic, that is the separation of different components of a mixture. We can say that the difference in a physical properties can be used to separate the constituent of a mixture or to purify it. So we can say that heterogeneous mixture can be separated into their constituent particle by simple physical method like hand picking or sieving or sedimentation, decantation or filtration, and but some special methods are employed to separate the constituent of a homogeneous mixture. So these methods are based on difference in volatility, or we can say ability to sublimate, or boiling point, melting point or density. So now how can we separate this homogeneous mixtures, or how we can say heterogeneous mixture. So sometimes special techniques are used to separate the component of a mixture like evaporation, centrifugation, decantation, that is using separating funnel, sublimation, and chromatography, then distillation and fractional distillation, that we will discuss here in detail. So first we will discuss about the evaporation. Evaporation, this method is used for separating volatile component. Volatile component means that can be evaporate. So volatile component, that is solvent, from a non-volatile component, that is solute, by heating the mixture. For example, suppose mm, uh, we have to separate the two different color component from, we can say, blue or blue ink. So how can we separate? So we have to apply this process that is known as the evaporation. So for example, ink is a mixture of a dye and water. So if some ink is heated in a dish, the water evaporates and the dye is left in the dish. Similarly, we can separate a mixture of salt and water, or sugar and water, by evaporation. As you can see in the figure, you can see uh, burner is there, one stand is there, then china dish is kept on the stand, and mixture of salt and water is there. So by providing heat, we can say that substance is evaporate, okay, and the volatile component will be evaporate, and the non-volatile component will be left behind. So how can we separate, we can say how can we separate the dye or from the ink, or we can say how can we separate the two different color of the component from the blue ink. We can apply this process. So what we have to do for this process, we can take 100 ml of a beaker and put a watch glass on its mouth. Then we have to drop a few drop of ink on the watch glass. Now start heating the water bath till water start boiling. Now continue heating as evaporating goes on. Now stop heating when you do not see any change in drop, we can capped on the watch glass. Then you have to observe, due to the heat, water vapor present in the water is a, that we can say, present in a dye evaporate, and the blue or black residue is left behind on the watch glass. So we can say that this indicate that ink is a mixture of blue or black dye with the water. This method is also used to separate non-volatile solid from liquid solid. And we can say that salt solution, sugar solution, and copper sulfate solution. So by this process, we can separate these components. Next process is centrifugation. Centrifugation, the method of separating denser particle and lighter particle from a mixture by using a centrifuging machine is called centrifugation. For example, if we take some milk in a centrifuging machine and spin it rapidly, the cream separates from the milk because cream is less dense than the milk. So we can say uh, we can apply this method by because it is this method is based on the difference in density. It means when milk is spun, then denser particles settle down at the bottom and lighter particles stay at the top. So by this method we can separate cream from the milk. Next method is, we can say, decantation using separating funnel. This method is used for separating a mixture of immiscible liquids. Liquids separate into different layer depending on their densities. So we can say that components of a mixture of two immiscible liquids are separated by using apparatus called separating funnel, and this is based on the difference in densities of two liquid. Suppose we have to separate the kerosene oil and water. If we take a mixture of kerosene oil and water in a separating funnel, it forms separate layers of oil and water, and the water can be separated by opening the stopcock, as you can see in the figure, and the water can be separated by opening the stopcock. So after the water flows out, the stopcock can be closed, and the after some time separate the we can separate the oil also. So this method we can apply to separate the two immiscible liquids. What we will do, we will first we will pour the mixture of kerosene oil and water in a separating funnel, as you can see in the figure. Then shake it well. Then we have to stand undisturbed for some time so that two separate layers of oil and water are formed. Now we'll open the stopcock of separating funnel and pour out the lower layer of water carefully in a beaker. Then close the stopcock of separating funnel as the oil reaches the stopcock. Now we know that water being heavier collect at the bottom and oil being lighter goes to the top. This is the method. By this method we can separate two immiscible liquids. And what are the application of this method? It is used to separate mixture of oil and water, and it is used to separate mixture of we can say mixture of ether and water also, and it is used to separate iron from its ore also. Okay, so we can apply this method to separate the two immiscible liquids. So we can say a mixture of more than two immiscible liquids can also be separated by using separating funnel. For example, a mixture of mercury and we can say water, benzene can be separated by this method. So this separating funnel can be used. Next method is sublimation. Sublimation. What is the meaning of sublimation? We know that some solids directly changes into gaseous state without intermediating the liquid state. So this process is known as a sublimation. So this method is used to separate mixture of sublimable component from a non-sublimable component by heating the mixture. For example, if a mixture of ammonium chloride, that is we can say ammonium chloride or a camphor uh, and common salt is heated, the ammonium chloride sublime and can be cooled and solidified and collected at the salt is left behind, because we know that ammonium chloride directly change into gaseous state, and after cooling this gaseous state again change into solid. So we know that if we want to separate the ammonium chloride from the salt, we can apply this sublimation process. So we can say this method employed is based on the difference in ability to sublimate. Suppose ammonium chloride can be changed directly from solid to gas on heating, whereas common salt cannot. So if you want to separate these ammonium chloride and common salt, we can apply sublimation process. And what we have to do for this process, as you can see in the figure, separation by sublimation is uh, uh, occurring here. So we have to take china dish and place a mixture of common salt and ammonium chloride on it. Okay, then cover the china dish with the inverted funnel, as you can see in the figure. Now heat the china dish on a burner and do not forget to plug the top of funnel with cotton. Then you will observe that ammonium chloride vaporize quickly to dense white fumes and condenses on the cooler portion, that is top part of the funnel, and white fine powder is collected on the inner lining of inverted funnel. When mixture stops giving fume, then turn off the burner and scrap the white powder. Hence, pure ammonium chloride is collected and salt is left behind in the china dish. And we can apply this method. It is used to separate iodine and salt also. It is used to separate iron fillings and naphthalene also. And it is used to separate camphor and sugar as well as sulfur and anthracene also. So we can use this process to separate this type of substances that is having difference in ability to sublimate. This is all about sublimation. Next process is chromatography. This method is used for separating colored component from a liquid by using a filter paper or blotting paper. Okay, so for example, put a drop of ink near one end of a strip of a filter paper, as you can see in the figure, and dip the end of the paper in a test tube containing water. Ink is a mixture of two or more colored component. So the component which is more soluble in water rises faster and get separated, as you can see in the figure. So we can say that after some time the water rises, and along with the water different colored component present in we can say in ink also rises. So the colored component which is more soluble in water rises faster and reaches to the top. It gets separated faster. So what are the application of this method? We can use this method to separate color present in a dye, and to separate drugs from blood, and to separate colored component present in glass, or we can say flower juice, grass and flower juices, and in forensic science to detect the and identify the trace amount of substance like poison in the content of stomach. This method is used. So this is all about chromatography. Next method is distillation. Distillation is the process of heating a liquid to form vapor and then cooling the vapor to get back the liquid. So we can say distillation can be, we can say liquid is heating, then it is changed into vapor, and then on cooling, then vapor changes into liquid. So the pure liquid obtained in the beaker after condensing the vapor is called distillate. And the long tube through which vapor passes is surrounded by a wider glass tube. So this is a continuous flow of water through inlet and outlet pipe. We can say outlet pipe. This water takes away the heat from the hot vapor and causes condensation. So the process of distillation is used to obtain pure drinking water from seawater in many countries. So we can say that this method is used to separate a mixture of miscible liquids by boiling the mixture and cooling and condensing the vapor. So how can we do this distillation? It is used for separating a mixture of two miscible liquid having sufficient difference in their boiling points. For example, if a mixture of acetone and water is heated in a distillation apparatus that you can see in the figure, the acetone, which has a lower boiling point than water, then first boils and cools and condenses and is separated from the water, because the boiling point is different. That's why we can say this process is to be used. So we can say that by the distillation we can separate the two miscible liquid. That means it is based on the difference in the boiling point of two constituent of a mixture. If two component of a mixture have a boiling points difference of 40 degrees Celsius or more, then they are separated by the method called distillation. So we can say this method is applicable when difference in boiling point of two constituents is 40 degrees Celsius or more. So we can apply this formula that is known as distillation. What is happen in this process? We can say, suppose we have to take a mixture of suppose acetone and water in a distillation round bottom flask. As you can see in the figure, this is round bottom distillating flask. So we have to take mixture of acetone and water, then fit it with the thermometer that you can see in the figure, and attach it with the condenser. This is a condenser. So we have to attach it with the condenser, and then we arrange the apparatus as shown in the figure. We have to arrange this apparatus. Okay, then we have to heat the mixture. What you will observe? You will observe that acetone having lower boiling point vaporizes first and condenses in the condenser. Then it is cooled from the condenser outlet in the beaker, and water having higher boiling point is left behind in the distillation flask. Hence water is separated from acetone. This is all about distillation, and we can apply this method when the difference is boiling point of two constituents is 40 degrees Celsius or more. Next process is, student, fractional distillation. Fractional distillation is the process of separating two or more miscible liquids by distillation, and different pure liquids are collected in fractional, we can say in fraction, at a different boiling temperatures. So it is used for separating a mixture of two or more miscible liquids whose difference in boiling point is less than 25 Kelvin, less than 25 Kelvin. So the apparatus used for fractional distillation is similar to that used for simple distillation, except that a fractionating column is fitted between the distillation flask and condenser. This is known as a fractionating column. So we can say the fractionating column has a glass beads which increases the surface for the vapors to cool and condense. And fractional distillation is used for separating the components of petroleum and separating the different gases from air. So how can be done? This is done by the fractionating column, and the process of fractional distillation is similar to that of distillation, and the liquid having lower boiling point condenses more readily than the liquid having higher boiling point. So this is all about fractional distillation. So the next method is separation of components of air. Components of air. Air is a mixture of gases, as we know, and the component of air can be separated by fractional distillation. Air is compressed by increasing the pressure and cooled by decreasing the temperature to get liquid air. The liquid air is then allowed to warm up slowly in a fractional distillation column. Then the different components separate at different heights depending on their different boiling points. As you can see in the flow chart also, suppose air, then air compress and cool by increasing pressure and decreasing temperature, then it convert into liquid air, then allowed to warm up slowly in fractional distillation column. Then gases get separated at different heights, we can say, according to their difference in the boiling point, because oxygen is having a minus 183, argon is having a minus 186, and nitrogen is having a minus 195. So we can say that at this temperature nitrogen starts boiling off from the liquid oil with a 190 degrees Celsius. So we can say that oxygen having the highest boiling point, that is minus 183 degrees Celsius, is left behind and then filled in the cylinder and compress the state. So first, which gas start boiling, which gas is having lowest boiling point? We can say nitrogen. So we can say that air is compressed at the pressure of 200 atmosphere and cooled at the temperature of minus 200 degrees Celsius. So under these conditions air liquefies. Now liquid air is warmed to 196 degrees Celsius. So at this temperature nitrogen starts boiling off from the liquid air. Then nitrogen is compressed and collected in cylinder. Then liquefied air left is a warm further, and at, we can say, 186 or 185 degrees Celsius argon gas also comes out and collected separately. And then oxygen having a highest boiling point, that is minus 180 degrees Celsius, is left behind and then filled in the cylinder and compressed state. So we can say that by this method we can separate the components of air. So students, today we'll study this much only. Then in the next session we'll start with the purification of solid by crystallization. So thank you and have a nice day.